think anyone judges people who go to AA. I don't think when anyone criticizes AA, it's not because they're judging the people that go there and they're saying, well, I don't want to go there because of those people, right? I don't think that's the case at all. Certainly not from my perspective anyway. I think most people who are judging AA are judging it based on their own principles, their own values, their own beliefs. They look at AA through the processes that, are widespread. I mean, all you have to do is look at the 12 steps and it shows you exactly what the processes are. Read a bit into that and then, you judge it from that perspective. This guy says, Johan Toxoy, he said, why every YouTuber who's talking about quitting alcohol always has a negative thought about AA? There's no benefit to anybody. Some people who need AA will use this as an excuse not to join AA meetings. Believe me, going there and saying I'm an alcoholic is courage for some people, and some of us needs others who experience similar things and listen without judging. Look, like I said, nobody is saying that you shouldn't go to AA and that it doesn't take courage to own up to whatever it is that you're going through, own up to the problems that you're facing in this journey. Nobody's saying that. But just because you don't say that, it doesn't mean to say that this is not a benefit to other people, that other people don't see the benefits in AA or not going to AA or going to some other place, I mean, like I said, if you are able to, for many years there was only AA there. That was the only thing that was around. So you had no real choice. Even now, if you go to a lot of doctors, a lot of medical institutions, if you go to a lot of the rehabilitation clinics, they will have AA or the 12-step system as a part of some form of that, as a part of their process. And, for me, neither the AA nor the rehabilitation clinics work on their own. I think, there's a lot of people that, I think some people need AA because that's where their thinking pushes them. They believe that they're an alcoholic. They believe that there is damage to themselves, that they are diseased, and they always will have this disease. There's other people that don't believe that. I don't see myself ever as having a disease. And it doesn't matter how many people say to me, well, you're not a real alcoholic. That it's like over the top of my head, right? Doesn't make any difference. So nobody's saying, my whole thing about the AA is looking at the 12 steps. And that first step, saying that you're out of control, is enough for me. I want to live my life I want to be the best possible version of myself in my life. And that means that I have to really sit back and take notice of what I'm doing in my life, to myself, how I'm conducting myself in life. And that goes to say a lot, to say that I drank alcohol for over 30 years. I'll hold my hands up about that. It was a stupid thing to do. But there you go, I did it. And, there comes a time when you have to stand back and say to yourself, well, it doesn't matter what I've done in the past. I am here where I am now. I can't change any of that stuff. But what I can change is moving forwards. I can make a commitment that A, I'm not putting the alcohol inside my mouth again, right? And B, I'm going to leave all the alcohol and the alcohol thinking behind me. And in order to do that, I've got to take 100% responsibility for myself. And that means not only 100% responsibility for the drink that I'm not going to put into my mouth in the future, right? That I control it, but I have to take responsibility for all the alcohol that ever went into my body, that every drop of alcohol that ever went in there was put there by me and nobody else. I made the decision. It's a binary decision, right? You either choose to put it in or you don't. You choose to eat the pizza or you don't, right? You choose to smoke the cigarette or you don't. It's the same thing. And that's my thinking of it. So that first step of AA just precluded me from everything else. And the fact that I talk to people, I know this is a different subject, and, people get addicted to the idea of going to AA. And you see people going there 10 and 20 years after they stop, that they still feel that they're alcoholics, that they're just one drink away from not having any alcohol anymore. And, like I said, that's a different thing. So I think if you're, I'm not saying that there isn't a benefit to somebody who gets a benefit from that type of thinking, who will go to a meeting and get benefit from those type of people. I won't, because I know that just by the 12 steps, I know that people are going to be there not looking at themselves with responsibility for themselves and responsibility for all the alcohol that they put in. They will say that one version or other of I have a disease, I am an alcoholic, I need to stay sober, and I'll need to stay sober for the rest of my life, and I'll always be an alcoholic, and I don't need that. That's just not in my DNA. So I look at that first step, that number one principle, admit you're out of control. And I knew that every drop of alcohol that I ever put into my body was put there by me, and every drop of alcohol that I didn't put in my body was there because I didn't put it there. Not because anybody else told me, not because there was a higher power telling me. And even if you believe in a higher power, right, I think, I have a different idea about that as well. So, I'm building a life of commitment which needs that responsibility. So, nobody is saying that you don't have the courage to step up and to say you're an alcoholic. I just think that it's, once you start using that terminology on yourself, it's a very unclear terminology. It's good for doctors maybe to use that and say, well, somebody's got this disease or that disease, but I don't think it helps the normal person. I really don't. If it depends again on where you want to go in your life and what you want to do with your life. But if you want to progress and if you want to make the most and be the best version of yourself, I don't think you can use that. When you say some of us need others who experience similar things, right? That's fair enough. But you're not really looking for somebody who experiences similar things. You're looking for people who interpret things in a similar way to what you are. So if you came to one of our group meetings, you wouldn't be told any of this stuff. You'd be told that you are responsible for everything, that you're responsible for all the alcohol that put into your mouth, that there is no victims except what you make yourself. So it is what it is. So if you're not hearing those stories, when you go to AA, people are going to tell you those same stories. That this was the drink, the demon drink. This is what took me over, and whatever. So I think if you're looking for people who share those interpretations, and that's all fair enough. I'm not, if that's your thing, then do it. And we have to judge. You have to make judgments in life. You have to, we are all prejudiced in our own ways. We have to prejudge something in order to say, well, is this going to work for me, or is this not going to work for me? And I know for me and for most of the people that come to us Habits Unplugged, this is not going to work for them. They were shying away from alcohol specifically for that one thing, for not only for the religious aspect, not only for going and listening to people's drunkalogs all along, listening to those drunken stories and people getting into the reliving their old lives because they can't live them now, because they can't live those drunken stories. We don't want to listen to that. So it comes from that perspective. So I hope you understand that we're not, when anyone gives out about the AA or criticizes the AA, we're criticizing the system, we're criticizing the principles and the values that AA holds in the big book, and not the people that go there. I know people who are also in my program who will go and visit AA meetings every so often because they want that perspective, and they want to understand that perspective. So it's not for me, but if it's for you, then good for you. So I hope that helps and clarifies our position on this. If you want help from us, habitsv2.com is where all of our programs are. We are non-judgmental in any sense. We try and help you to see past those words of alcoholic and sober and recovery, and try to leave alcohol in your past as quickly as possible. I believe that as soon as you stop drinking alcohol, then you should stop thinking about alcohol. You should stop thinking about alcohol as a part of your life, right? It was something that you did in the past, but now we're moving on to it. You may have a time in your life when you have to, a period when you stop the flow of alcohol, and then you have to adjust and cope with life without alcohol, cope with all the things that happen, and then transition into this new way of thinking. But I always believe in trying to get away from the drinker's identity as quickly as possible. The drinker's identity is all of the thinking, the mindsets, the ways that you do things, the routines, the habits that are revolving around alcohol. And it's not just the alcohol habits that do it, that we're talking about here, but all of those things, in one way or another, form a way of thinking, a way that you live your life. And the quicker we can break that down, the easier it is to start building up a rock solid foundation of proper habits. And I don't think you can do that if you're holding on to alcoholism as a thing that is there in the background. How can you? Because you're not only looking at alcoholism as a thing. You're for me, it's you're putting responsibility onto something that you don't control, right? No matter where you go in this to stop drinking alcohol, you still have to take responsibility for not putting the alcohol into your mouth. No matter where you go, it all comes down to you anyway. So why take on the added burden of calling yourself an alcoholic? I don't see the purpose in it. Anyway, take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you again soon. Onwards and upwards. Bye now.